Good afternoon, not afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Alec Morand. I am the Associate Director of Student Services. I'm very happy to see everybody on the call tonight. We have lots of great brothers who are from all over the country, and I believe we may even have some international brothers on the call tonight too. So thank you for giving up some of your evening tonight to see this presentation, as well as we have two awesome brothers and volunteers, Diana and Heather, both on the call. They're going to be presenting for us tonight. They're both experts in what you'll hear about tonight, as well as dedicated volunteers. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to them. I just ask that everybody keep your computers on mute if you don't have a question yet, as well as, like Diana said earlier, we love to see everybody. So if you're comfortable, please feel free to turn on your camera. It's nice to see brothers during the social distance time. So I'll turn it over to Heather and Diana.
Awesome. Thank you, Alec. Like Alex said, happy Wednesday. It could be 8 a.m., could be 5 p.m., wherever you are. My name is Diana D. Correa. Expert was very gracious, Alec. So I am the Atlantic Metro Regional Director, which means I volunteer for AKSI, working with chapters in New Jersey, New York City, Philly, and Delaware. On the professional side of things, I am a digital marketing analyst at Scholastic, working in specifically digital marketing in terms of search engine optimization and paid social media advertisements on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Instagram.
And I am Heather Robinette. I am the fraternity manager of communication. So I work on various projects around communication for the fraternity. Professionally, I am a marketing manager for a B2B SaaS tech startup in Dallas, Texas. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So to jump right in, we're going to talk about our agenda real quick. So as most of you know, we'll be talking about marketing tonight. So first, we're going to touch on managing your chapter's image. Then we'll be talking about social media best practices, public relations best practices, resources, and then we'll have time at the end for question and answer. But before we get started, I did want to do a quick poll. So Alec, if you'd be able to pull up our poll for us real quick. We're just wanting to get kind of an idea of who is all here, just as far as your position within your chapter. So if we could just take maybe a minute or two and just let us know what position you have within your chapter.
Hey, Heather, can you see the poll? Because it's not coming up for me anymore now.
Oh, no.
If you click on polling, everyone, you'll be able to see it.
How about now? Yep, there we go. Apparently I can see it.
Amazing. Oh, a good mix of people. Okay, love that.
Okay. So I'm going to hit the share results just so everyone can take a look real quick. So yeah, as Diana said, it looks like we do have a good mix of people here, everything from volunteers to presidents to VP of marketing and VP of membership. So very excited to talk to everyone about marketing tonight. So with that, we will pass it over to Diana to start with managing your chapter's image.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. So I'm going to start off just by going through with you all a couple of examples, just some things that have caught Heather and I's eye that we'll launch deeper into during this presentation. On the screen, you'll see examples, Instagram examples of 3 different chapters, their profiles. So these are actually chapters who their Instagram accounts have caught my eye as an undergrad. So I graduated 2017, initiated as a brother in 2014. So for quite some time, these brothers in these chapters have been doing super well marketing wise. So you'll see with the 3 of them, consistency across their profiles. It's very eye-catching. They have their chapter logo as their profile pic. You'll see a link tree in the first one, which we'll dive deeper into. Notice that they have highlights at the top of their Instagram. Notice that they are highlighting their brothers. It's not just flyer after flyer after flyer, which kind of breaks things up for your eye. They are all business accounts, which we'll talk deeper into as well. And then Heather, if you could go, yep. And then to pull some individual post examples for you all. So you'll see these caught our eye in terms of what they are, the perception is, and what they're conveying to the public, the message that they're showing. So the first one, it's a back to school, excited for their virtual recruitment at Towson. They've tagged some offices at their university. Definitely recommend tagging any relevant other organizations or university offices that'll get your account shown through those profiles. You might get reposted, you might get shared on Insta story, things that'll further get your chapter out there outside of your immediate connections. That middle post you'll see is a picture of their event. It's a philanthropy event. It's showing and relaying what they are passionate about as a chapter, how much money they raised for the philanthropy that they have. And it's a photo. It isn't just a flyer, it's a live photo of the event as it was happening. And then that last one, it's super relevant to the times we're in today. You can tell it's fresh content because, brothers are wearing masks. So it's super relevant to the time that we're in. And again, it's not just a flyer, it's brothers. And then this last slide, it's an example of a flyer, just to pull it out and to show all of you, it's great in terms of that it is telling people what they can learn, the why behind the event, why they should attend. And it's utilizing a link tree, which Heather, I believe, or I might be going further into, but it's putting everything into one place on Instagram, seeing the event and then being able to register for that event. So no one's got to click around and you might lose somebody in the shuffle. And then just very briefly, some examples of what not to post. So that first one, they're both great flyers in terms of the information that they're conveying for the event. But the first one, I don't know if any of you remember that Bird Box Netflix movie with Sandra Bullock that came out a little while ago. But that's when this flyer, that first one, came out. And so it was relevant in terms of what was the buzz around the country in terms of that movie. But perception is reality, and what you as marketers are trying to, the perception you're trying to give of your chapter is super important. And so the first image has, that relevant information for Rush Week, but the perception someone might get because someone is being blindfolded is that might be something that happens during recruitment week, or might happen during the year at that chapter. And I hope is not true, and probably most likely is not true, but that is the perception that is being given off to the public and to someone who might be interested. So you might be dissuading someone into joining your chapter because of that. And then that second one is great in terms of, again, the event and the information on it, but you'll notice the logo, the crest. So we are going to be talking about branding guidelines, but you'll see there that they've actually manipulated the crest, and that's against AKSI's guidelines in terms of branding. We are, we've all got our own spice and flavor as individual chapters, but there are certain things that for consistency make us part of one fraternity, and our crest and our logo does that.
Yeah, and so the next part is just talking on the work hard, play hard mentality. So this is something you hear around companies. Sometimes chapters will talk about this. This is really around a chapter image, chapter culture that gets portrayed. And this is something we don't want to tell you that it's wrong by any means, just something to think about. At the end of the day, when you talk about work hard, play hard, really you're talking about, kind of always going hard, you're working hard, you're playing hard, you're really never stopping. And while you can work hard, you can have fun, you can create a balance. The biggest thing I want to kind of caution you on is ultimately what you can create is workaholics, and eventually you can create burnout. And the biggest thing is that eventually leads to retention problems. So it's just one of those things to keep in mind when you're trying to create that chapter image, that chapter culture, that work hard, play hard mentality isn't always the best. It sounds cool, sounds fun, but honestly, I work for a company like that, and no one stays more than 2 years because you get burned out. It's hard to keep up with that for a long period of time. So it's just something to keep in mind as you're starting to create that culture around your chapter. And obviously with things changing right now, everything is a lot more virtual. Your chapter is probably changing in the way it looks. Just keep that in mind as things are shifting and what you're trying to create with your chapter.
And so to further discuss that point and kind of what I'd mentioned of perception being reality, that further dives deeper into you are always wearing your letters. So even though, we have our letters on right now, even when you're not wearing your letters physically, they are basically across your forehead. And so whatever, as marketers, you're posting on your chapter's profile, your profiles, your chapter brothers, what they're posting, that's a reflection of you, of your chapter, and of our shared fraternity. So no matter what, somebody's going to be looking, someone's going to be watching, even if you think they're not. And so we have, we're not going to play it, but there are these 2 videos afterwards. I believe we're going to share these slides. So would definitely recommend, especially, they really emphasize that point and really convey what that really means wearing your letters at all times. And I'm sorry, and you don't have to watch it by yourself. You can talk about it in the chapter meeting. You can have your pledges watch it. Bring it all together. Snack and watch that video.
Awesome. Yes, definitely. So with that, we'll move into social media best practices. So with that, so as far as social media goes, a lot of you have awesome accounts. So really just keeping those up to date. And most of you probably already do, just making sure you use a business page, especially around Instagram. It allows to give you more insights, allows people to contact your page, things like that. The other thing, when we were looking through different chapter accounts, is just noticing a lot of chapters that'll post really heavily during recruitment, and then it just drops off. And then all of a sudden it's really heavy during recruitment and drops off again. At the end of the day, if someone's interested in your chapter, but all they see is just recruitment for, a week or 2, and then that's it, twice a year, you're not really giving them that full taste of your chapter. So make sure you're posting throughout the year, whether that's recognizing members, sharing events, letting people know what you're doing, what causes you're supporting, just giving people that understanding of who you guys are. It just really helps give people that full picture and gives them a better idea of what they would be joining. And these are 2 great examples of stories that were shared, of a brother of the week and a kudos. So these are just easy ways to recognize your members. And Insta groups are another great way too, within Instagram, just to keep people connected. And also make sure you are following your regional social media accounts. So for example, Diana's region, make sure you follow her accounts, as well as fellow chapters in your region, as well as, other chapters across the fraternity. That gives you ideas, lets you know about events that are coming up, just being able to keep you kind of in the loop with everything. And for chapters that have websites, I love seeing that. But the one thing that is always interesting is the chapters that, make this great website, but then they don't keep it up to date. You're a chapter or 2 behind, or, the alumni that graduated that show up are from a year ago. So it's just one of those that if you're going to have a website, make sure you're keeping that up to date, so that if a prospective member ends up on the website, or if someone's trying to contact your chapter for some reason, sorry, my dog is in here looking around, I apologize. And then also, if your university has any type of profile that you're able to have some type of directory, make sure that information stays up to date. Every time you guys elect a new president, make sure you're always updating that information, especially then if people are starting to look for different organizations to join, you're then able to make sure they always know who to reach out to. So with that, I'm going to have Diana go ahead and share her content calendar, just to give you guys an idea. It always helps to plan out at least a month in advance, so then you always know what you're going to be posting. And then you always know, here's what we're going to be doing. And then no one's ever confused about what should be happening, what you're going to be posting, and it's very consistent, and it keeps a consistent message. Dana, I don't know if you want to talk about it real quick.
Yeah, so it's definitely helpful for me. And this, I use Excel. You don't need to if you have, an Outlook, a Gmail, whatever works for you. But I definitely This has saved so much stress for me because I post on my regionals, Atlantic Metro Regionals, Facebook and Instagram accounts, and just planning out ahead of time. This is the month of November. What I'm thinking of doing is super helpful than thinking the day of what I need to post. And you're not just you're your VP of marketing or your marketing chair, but you're also students. You might have a job, you have classes, like you have a lot of other things going on too, right? So posting on social media might not be top of mind, and then a week or two passes and you realize you haven't posted and you're scrambling to try to get your account back active again, right? So having this kind of calendar and laid out ahead of time is super helpful. And I will share with you that just a little bit, Heather, if I could have a minute to talk about just when I put this together, I think about one, what are social media holidays or social media, events that are going on for the month. So for example, Veterans Day for the month of November, Thanksgiving. I've looked up, for example, International Accounting Day, that's November 10th, and that's not something that's super well known. But then I thought about, well, I could spotlight brothers who major in accounting, or an alumni brother who's currently practicing accounting, right? Thinking about holidays for social media holidays for that month and how you can spotlight your brothers for that, or any ideas around that, like World Kindness Day, tagging a brother with words of kindness, right? So I think about that. I think about any events that the chapter is posting, like if you want to think about whatever your chapter's got going on and how frequently you want to promote that for the month. And then just using that, it'll slowly fill up your calendar and suddenly you have everything planned out ahead of time.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so just to make sure everyone is paying attention, we have a quick question for everyone. So we have a couple people listed on the screen. Can anyone tell me what these 4 people have in common? You're welcome to take yourself off mute if you would like to take a guess. And if you attended a previous session with Ada Rowe, you probably already know this answer, so I'd ask that you refrain from answering. Any takers?
Anyone want to take a stab? JT, you look like you want to guess.
I'll leave for the rest.
Okay, wow. So if no one has a guess, so all these people, the one thing they have in common is that they've all been canceled. So I'm not sure if most of you know what that means, but essentially what that means is, for example, the first one, Naomi was a NASA intern, but she ended up having a vulgar Twitter rant, and she eventually was canceled, meaning she lost her internship. Mr. Maples ended up having the outbreak in Costco where he said he felt threatened, and he eventually went viral for that. Anastasia worked for Chick-fil-A, and she would share essentially Chick-fil-A kind of hacks, if you will, on TikTok about how to get cheaper menu items. It was seen almost 2 million times, and she eventually was fired from Chick-fil-A. And the last one, Donald Sterling was eventually banned for life from the NBA for his racist rant that was leaked by his girlfriend at the time. So it's one of those things that it's small things on social media that easily can get out of hand, go viral, and ultimately cause you to get canceled, cost you, eventually everything, no matter who you are. So it's always something to keep in mind that, even though it seems like whatever you are posting on social media doesn't seem like a big deal, it can quickly become a very big deal. So just always be mindful about what you are posting. So with that, just wanted to take a quick minute The holiday is coming up of Halloween. I'm not going to read this to you, but it is just a quick message for you guys. It is something to share with your brothers as well in the chapter. When it comes to holidays, especially this one, or holidays like this one, no one by any means is saying you can't celebrate. We're just asking that you're mindful of your behavior. As we've already been talking about, you're always wearing your letters. Your actions represent you, your chapter, your fraternity, your school. Just be mindful of that and be safe and have fun. So with that, we're gonna jump into public relations.
You don't want to get canceled like everyone else we listed. Public relations, it goes hand in hand with marketing, how the public is perceiving you. And so it's all about how to present your chapter. Don't let someone guess about what your chapter is like or how your chapter is. Take control of that narrative and tell them. So for example, we have here a couple of different, circles, holes, whatever you want to call it, from the fraternity perspective, right? Your chapter, showcasing how your chapter is to other chapters. Email communication@aksci.org or anyone at the fraternity staff to let the fraternity know the accomplishments of your chapter and of your brothers. So those bi-weekly Brotherhood United newsletters that go out, there are chapters who are spotlighted there. Let Alec know, let communication@aksci know, and you could be spotlighted. And so other chapters will see the amazing things that your chapter is doing. Tagging the fraternity's Instagram account in posts. That'll get you either reposted or on the Instagram story or shared, or, someone going through the fraternity's tagged posts will see your chapter. For future, getting your name out there in terms of if you need to do a throwback, if you need to show how your chapter has developed with an event over time, keeping a photo or a video archive for future use. So that way you don't need to scramble to try and find a picture of something. You already have that central in one place, and it's super useful for transition from semester to semester, from year to year, depending upon how the marketing position is set up. And then on the alumni side of things, and brothers who have to take a leave of absence for whatever reason, keeping them in the loop about how your chapter is, having a newsletter sent out. So here, the Mu Rho chapter, the newsletter that they send out to alumni, keeping alumni in the loop and informed about what they're doing and all of the excellence that they're achieving. And then a third bracket or grouping is the university, right? It's how the public at the university and the outer university community is viewing you. So, you might either university office or your university newspaper, or if there's like a listserv in your business school or, your arts and science school, wherever you have a majority of your brothers part of, putting your news and your events and your upcoming information, getting those out there on those listservs and in the newspaper to show your major accomplishments. That way, especially for a potential new member, they don't need to scroll through your Instagram account to find out what you're like. They've already seen you throughout the year in the newspaper and all over the place around campus. And then to further talk about fraternity recognition, we've talked about posting on social media for events and highlighting your brothers, highlighting the achievements that your chapters have gotten with awards. So either from the fraternal level, or if, a brother on campus has won an award from a student office or a university office, highlighting that on your social media. So just to let you all know that there are an upcoming award session. So on November 18th, and I think Alec might be dropping the link for it. There is an awards and recognition night. It's going to be virtual. And so chapters that would have won an award at PBLI for the 2019-2020 school year, awards will be given for there. You can nominate your chapter for an award based on your chapter's performance this fall semester virtually. So Alec is dropping the link to nominate your chapter. And as well, DSA's Distinguished Service Awards, a link I think is going to get sent out, or Alec, it might be in the notes section if you could drop that link, where, these are tough times and this is the time for brothers to shine. So if you have a brother in your chapter who has done exemplary service to your chapter, you can get them nominated for a Distinguished Service Award. You don't have to wait to win a fraternity award. You can really highlight your brothers in that way. And then take a picture and post it on social media to let everyone know how great your chapter is. And then crisis management, and I want to talk about this a little bit because this is part of the public relations conversation. And I've seen some of this come up as a regional director this semester. And so, and I've seen this in my real world marketing experience. Crisis management, one, avoiding any knee-jerk reactions or responses. So for example, you might have seen some chapters who've been called out on social media, either for sexual misconduct, for racism, what have you. That's going on right now. And so the knee-jerk reaction isn't to respond or to delete any posts or anything. It's to pause, take a deep breath and let somebody know. I've definitely advised my chapters and they've done a great job of letting, a chapter advisor or myself, a staff member know. Because that's that kind of stuff, like that's, I like to call it real world problems, where that's above you, that's real life situations, right? And no one is saying, yep, go handle that by yourself, right? Like we as adults who are in the real world want to help you kind of facilitate and have those conversations and figure out what to do. And so first step before doing anything, when you see it, is to let somebody know, see something, say something, right? And then we can help, staff and volunteers can help you respond accordingly to those crises based on experience that we have seen. And best practices, creating a social media handbook. So for example, and handbook sounds super official, right? But it's just a set of rules because I find common sense is not common. And so for example, that might just be something very simple of you might have an alumni brother, or you might just have a chapter brother who's going to be doing, an Instagram story takeover, just setting some rules and boundaries of what is appropriate and not appropriate behavior on those Instagram stories. So, not having alcohol, for example, on that Instagram story. Even though that alumni brother, that chapter brother might be 21 and over, right? We've talked about perception. And so somebody looking at that, a student looking at that, they might not know that brother is 21 or over and that it's okay for them to have alcohol. They might be thinking they're 18 and they see the alcohol and think, oh my God, like this chapter, like all they do is drink, right? And is that the perception you want to give? No, we're a professional business fraternity. So having those rules of what is okay and not okay to post to avoid those kind of situations down the road, right? Proactive approach. I mentioned, deleting posts isn't always the answer. Again, like asking for help on how to respond. And sometimes, you might get a comment on your post and responding back on social media isn't the answer. Like if you have an email or some different way to contact, like taking it offline, right? And then finally, Googling your name. I highly always recommend this. Googling your name and your chapter name to see what comes up. Like periodically, I'll go Google my name just to see what comes up, to see if there's anything suspicious activity around my name. Because again, employers look it up occasionally of their employees, and employers are definitely looking up your name when you apply for internships. And then just a little graphic of like thinking before you post. Whatever you post on social media doesn't go away. I will tell you, for example, following in charge of my regional's Instagram page, I do follow all of the accounts of the chapters in my region just to see in terms of like what I can highlight of the successes that they're doing. And sometimes I will see like they posted something and I'll go to look at it and to comment. And then I'll see that I'll get a notification that they've reposted that same image. And so and they've deleted the previous one. And so it was very clearly just like either a typo that they had or a typo in the caption or something that they had to fix quickly. But in that amount of time, I was able to see what they originally posted. I could have taken a screenshot if it was like something crazy. I could have like put that outline for everyone to see, right? And so whatever you post, even if the first time, like it's out there no matter what. So think before you post. And then just some fraternity resources. I mentioned at the beginning about the crest. So I'm just gonna share my screen, for example, for a second to show you all where you can see the fraternity branding and get those kinds of resources. So if you log into my EKSci, which I believe the email is communityssupport@eksci.org if you have trouble logging in. But when you log in, this is the screen that you see. There are a couple of tabs up here. If you click on knowledge base, that's where all of the fraternity's knowledge, one of our core values, is. And so there's already right here a little branding topic. So you can click on that. Then it'll take a little second to load. And then you'll see what's called Brand Standards Guide. You'll see AKSI logo, AKSI seal, the foundation logo, the galley, the coat of arms, any logo that you might need that you want to put on a flyer or anywhere or on your website, it's here. And then the Brand Standards Guide, once you click on that, you'll see a PDF here. And that'll take a second to load. And then you'll see all of, do's and don'ts listed here in terms of logo, applicable size, all that kind of stuff that you're allowed to post and where you're not allowed to post.
Awesome. Okay, so next we will just briefly touch on this since we've really touched on this quite a bit already. But this is just the official publication of inappropriate materials policy from the fraternity, just so you guys are aware. But this is really just letting you know that there is an official policy, that at the end of the day, the fraternity is, focused on making sure to keep the fraternity's name, in good standing, with, all chapters. So just keeping that in mind. So whatever you are posting, just remember at the end of the day, you are representing the fraternity. And so this is across any social media, anywhere you are publicly posting information. And with that also, just want to point out the new code of conduct that was just released. I'm also not going to read this to you as well, but this was also released just to make it a little bit easier to understand, as a brother of AKSI, what is expected of you, at the student level, fraternity staff, volunteer, whoever you are, what conduct is expected of you. And I also then wanted to point out on Sunday, there's going to be a separate session just dedicated to understanding what that means. So especially if you're looking to become a chapter officer, already are a chapter officer, I highly encourage you to check that out. I believe Alec is dropping a link in the chat if you'd like to register for that as well. That definitely would be a good session to check out. And Diana, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so this is my favorite thing to talk about for the fraternity. So some commonly misused terms that when I'm talking to, volunteers or I'm talking to student brothers, I hear thrown around a lot, and then I internally cringe because I'm like, that's word choice is important and that's not the word. So a lot of brothers will say the word nationals, right? We are actually not a national fraternity. We are an international fraternity, right? We have chapters in Panama, in Canada, in Hong Kong, the Asian area, the UK. And so it's actually kind of, it's like a disservice to those brothers, right? Because they are our brothers and we hold them in high regard, but then we use the word nationals to just talk about the USA brothers. And a lot of times that's not the context that you want to use. You're talking about all brothers. And so what you actually mean to say is the fraternity, or a lot of times people say like the nationals office, right? It's the fraternity office. A lot of times we'll hear frat. The correct word would be fraternity. And we mention this because depending upon the reputation at your school or how Greek life overall the reputation is, frat might not have the best connotation. And so again, it's very much that outside external perspective that we're trying to make sure we have a great one. And so you might want to use the word fraternity instead. I'll hear a lot of honor court, final court, and those are some older terms. I'll hear a lot of alumni tell me that, say that word to me. With the Bridge to Brotherhood program, it is court of honor. That is the ritual that is happening. Similarly, I'll hear mid-court, and that was definitely something like I had a mid-court. Now with Bridge to Brotherhood, it's a midterm interview. So using that correct terminology is important. I'll hear a lot of crossing. Again, that is sometimes has, again, depending on your campus and the temperature there of Greek life, it can have a negative connotation. And so I definitely strive for people to use the word initiation. That's the ritual that you're having, is you're being initiated into the fraternity. Similarly, I'll hear a lot of active, inactive. This brother's going inactive. I have a little fact here. So during AKSI's 53rd convention, the fraternity actually officially adopted legislation to remove the term inactive status. So in our constitution, in our governing documents, there is no inactive status. there is a leave of absence. And so the correct word and terminology to use is someone is a collegiate member. That means they're active, they're a collegiate member, or they're taking a leave of absence in place of the word inactive. I'll hear a lot of times talking to people, they'll say like, the fraternity has this policy, or the fraternity is having this Yellow Rose banquet. It's like, no, your chapter might have a policy that's specific to your chapter, and other chapters don't do it. Or your chapter is having like a Yellow Rose banquet or doing a professional event. The fraternity isn't doing it. And so sometimes brothers will use that interchangeably, but the fraternity is AK Psi, all of us as a whole. Your chapter is the brothers that are in that chapter. Those are the ones who are doing that event. Or I'll hear a lot of times, the brotherhood, and what you might mean is the brothers of your chapter, not the overall fraternity brotherhood. And then I've also included just a little note. We included a note about recruitment versus rush. And so we would definitely strive for you to use the word recruitment if you can. And this is very much, again, the temperature of your campus. The word rush might have a negative connotation from a social aspect. That being said, definitely follow your university's policies. I know, for example, I was part of the Professional Fraternity Council at my university, and we were obligated to use the word recruitment. And so all the professional organizations used recruitment, as did the social organizations. No one was allowed to use the word rush because of that negative connotation. Your school might have a rule where everyone is asked to use rush, or you might see a lot more traction, especially in competition with those social organizations, about rush. So it's taking a look at what is acceptable and not acceptable at your university and what kind of the policy is there. I think, Alec, you wanted to chime in with something?
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Diana. I just wanted to mention, while we're on this slide, we are constantly thinking about the terms that we use in the fraternity. And as Heather mentioned earlier, we have changed and have made the new code of conduct. So we will be phasing out risk management for code of conduct because we know it goes beyond policy. We want to make sure that members are aware of and can keep each other accountable for the conduct of their brothers. So the code of conduct, you'll see as you read it that it's a lot more, I want to say, like real world language than legalistic that the risk management policies used to be. So it's a lot easier to understand. But just keep that in mind when you're looking around at documents. We're in the process of changing out risk management to code of conduct for that change, as well as we're changing all of the new integrations that were in Chapter Spot. All of that will be in the My AK Psi portal that Diana showed you earlier on November 2nd. So you won't be seeing Chapter Spot anymore. You'll just be seeing My AK Psi community or chapter management tools within the My AK Psi community. So just some quick updates or what you guys are going to see in the future, just as officers, so you know what's going on and these terms aren't coming out of nowhere. So thank you guys for letting me chime in.
So we know we just threw a lot of great information at all of you. What questions can we answer for all of you?
Diana.
Yes.
If we were to take one single thing away.
Go back. Name and chapter, please. Introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob Dries. I'm the Valley Crossroads Regional Director. My question for you is, if we were to take one thing away to start implementing into our chapters tomorrow, what would you suggest?
My favorite thing out of all of this is that social media handbook that I mentioned. Again, having just a down pat what is acceptable on social media, especially in this virtual reality, everyone's using it, everyone's doing Instagram takeovers. So having a do's and don'ts on that. And Heather, you might have a different answer.
No, I'd actually probably have to say the same thing, keeping everyone on the same page, because especially if you're going to have multiple people handling your social media, you need to keep that as consistent as possible. Because at the end of the day, that's your chapter's brand, and you don't want that to, look like three different people. So definitely would agree.
Thank you, Jake, for that question.
Hi, I have a question. My name's April and I'm from Purdue. So our chapter, we recently just made it LinkedIn. Do you have any tips on managing a LinkedIn or how that brand should compare to Instagram or other social media platforms?
When so you said you created a LinkedIn, did you create a profile? Did you create a business page?
Flo, if you're here, do you want to answer that? Oh, sorry, we got a marketing chair here. I'm not exactly sure.
Hi, yeah. April, sorry, what's that again? What's the question again?
What type of page is our LinkedIn?
Oh, it's basically right now we're just sharing like the brothers internship, past internship, and like our business professional events. So those two things are our main thing that we post on our LinkedIn.
Okay. Is it like a profile or is it a business page that you created?
I believe it's a business page. So it's run by my my boss, like the VPR. So I'm not really like in the LinkedIn. Yeah, but we post like both those stuff.
So I guess my question is, have you got any traction on it yet?
Yeah, we do actually have like about 600 people following it.
Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I'd say really for the most part, what I've actually seen more of is a lot of chapters will create an individual profile, which has been interesting. I don't know that I've seen one work better than the other yet. So I definitely I don't know that I have a great answer for you yet. So I'm interested to see how you guys kind of take it and run with it. For the most part, I've seen chapters create the individual profile page and then create or connect then with different AKSI brothers and use that as a way to share updates about what their chapter is doing and be able to share that information. I mean, realistically, from a business standpoint, a profile page does get more views versus a business page, just as a social media type thing for some reason, but that's just how LinkedIn's analytics works. But I mean, if you're finding traction, I would stick with it. But if it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of views or anything like that, I would also consider maybe testing, creating a profile, and maybe trying both of them and seeing what works best for you.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What other questions can we answer for all of you? Don't make me call out on any brothers, because I will.
Hi, I actually have a question. I'm here with our chapter secretary. We live together. We're from Shippensburg University's Untitled Chapter. I was actually just kind of curious from other chapters here, how many people you kind of have running your social media pages. Currently, we have 2 chairs overseeing all of our social media, and I think that that's a little overwhelming at times for our chairs. So I'm just curious what other chapters are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I can go ahead and chime in here. Hi, I'm Andrew Cornice from Baylor University, Epsilon Eta chapter. We have about 50 members and we only have one person running our social media. We have a PR chair that runs all of our social media, so just one.
I can share too. My name is Luis Cruz. I'm from Mu Sigma chapter in San Diego State University. And for us, we have one social media director, but they run everything by me, the VP of marketing, and also the VP of public relations. So we kind of also work with them to create content and just review what we post. But overall, they're the ones who end up with. They're in charge of the schedule and everything. We just review the post.
Hey again, April from Purdue. So what we do, we have a VP PR, and they're on exec board, and they oversee all of marketing and as well as service and just kind of like the brand image of the chapter. But then Florence, who spoke earlier, she is our marketing committee chair. So she does a lot of the hands-on like content creation, posting on Instagram, things like that. We've played with the idea of having like a website IT person in the past, but they just didn't have enough work to make it like an actual committee chair. So right now it's pretty much just our marketing chair and our VP PR.
And I'll chime in. So I was public relations chair at Syracuse as an undergrad. So things may have changed a little bit, but when we did it, I worked hand in hand with another PR chair, and a graphic designer. And so there was somebody who was dedicated to making graphics. That might have been for a recruitment shirt, that might have been for a flyer, a logo, anything like that. I would work on social media posts, and then someone who was dedicated to update the website. But I will say it was super helpful in terms of having somebody to run ideas off of, because again, that way when we post the first time, it's all correct and it's a great idea versus having to like go back and rework. You have somebody to bounce an idea off of. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Nicole from Chi Omicron chapter at William Patterson. So our school is actually doing kind of Meet the Greeks on our Instagram page through videos. So I was just wondering if any other chapters have done kind of a recruitment, like personalized video just for their chapter, if you have any tips, anything like that.
Hi, it's Andrew again, Baylor University, Epsilon Eta. For us, I think like a recruitment video type thing we usually do every semester. I'm not sure how that looks like for a virtual semester, but we would go out and get a group of members and do a photo shoot and do things on campus just to get pictures and videos of us together doing things, and then highlight the events and stuff of AKSI. Just in general, and things that we do in our chapter that highlight who we are and what we do, and posting that. Also this semester we did like a Instagram live recruitment type thing, so that might be more along the lines of what you're talking about. And we kind of just had anyone that was in there ask questions, and it was me, I'm the president, and then we had a VP of recruitment answering questions as well. And even if there wasn't any questions, we had like a preset list of questions to get answered of like general things, and then we posted that on the page as well for people to view back later. So I'm maybe thinking of question like FAQs or events and stuff about your chapter that you're really proud of that sets you apart from other organizations might help for that.
Nicole, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. If you don't mind, actually, can you drop your chapter's Instagram page, Andrew, just so I can see if maybe past videos or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I'll do that.
Yeah, feel free, everyone. Thank you for bringing that up, Nicole. Feel free to drop some IG handles in the chats. And especially, Heather talked about Instagram groups before, like your chapter doesn't have to be in a silo, right? And so you definitely, like with the other chapters in your region or with any other chapter here, like you could set up a group and kind of like get ideas from each other on how to promote or ask each other questions or see what kind of like events each other is doing. I know, for example, like like I have a group for my region, all the chapters together. And so like I had dropped that, the Baruch chapter was doing like a bingo board for a certain foundation to raise money. And then like the Stony Brook chapter like ran with that and did the same thing because I loved it so much. So getting ideas off of each other.
And I wanted to just sort of pop in on that note too, is that when we do the chapter shout outs that Diane and Heather mentioned earlier in the slideshow, I always try to put in the Instagram for the chapters who are getting shouted out. So a couple of weeks ago, I will say that we did a lot of shout outs around recruitment and recruitment materials that chapters were putting out. So I'd take a look at that, Nicole, because there were some great videos that came out of that. As well as if your chapter is smaller and doesn't have as many resources, the fraternity put together just a general recruitment video that just for an info night that you can use too. So we want to make sure we're giving you as many resources as we can on our end too. So if there's something that you see that would be good for another chapter or that your chapter could use, always feel free to contact a staff member, contact your RMT. We're happy to make the resources that you guys are going to use.
I'm curious on the student end. Hi, everyone. Jake from Valley Crossroads again. I'm curious, when you're looking at Instagram, what are helpful things that you see that you would like to see, or that you see either your region's post or the fraternity at large? So the fraternity itself posting, what's helpful to you? So when you're looking through, do you like that there are these advertisements of like, hey, these events are going on, or what can we do to better help you in the virtual environment?
Silence means everything is perfect.
You already know who I am. April from Purdue. Okay. So something I do like the event reminders, as long as it's not like every single day about the event. I like seeing what other chapters are doing when you like shout someone out on the Instagram story or something like that. As you know, we're probably not following every single other chapter, but seeing like what other chapters in Valley Crossroads are doing, that's pretty cool.
April, when you mention event reminders, can you get a little bit more specific? These are email reminders. Where are you seeing these reminders?
Oh, so I guess I'm thinking about Instagram right now, whether it be like on Instagram story or just a quick post about an event reminder that's coming up, like for Brotherhood Unbounded or something. Those are helpful. Email, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit flooded with emails. So it's like it all has important information, but some of it's repeated and some of it, it just might be a bit hard to sift through. So that's kind of why I prefer Instagram, even though the email is probably more comprehensive.
So April, I have a question on that. Hey, I'm JT, Area 2 VP. So curiosity, because I'm not the best at social media, which is why I attended this, because I want to become more familiar with it. So would you feel like a event reminder would be better suited by a post from a account, or do you feel like an Instagram story would be more likely to get more popular and be like, hey, I need to sign up for that, as a post versus a story? That's why I'm trying to figure out which is more common, what's better perceived by students.
That's a really good question. Someone else please jump in, because I'm not exactly sure. Like, Instagram stories, sometimes they're kind of nice because you can like make that direct link, and so you could just like click that and go directly there. But then it's also easy just like to scroll really fast through the Instagram story. So I don't know. It's kind of a give and take. I like the link being directly there with the Instagram story, but I do typically sign up actually through the events with the emails or like going directly to my AKSI, but I think it's just because I'm a bit more familiar with my AKSI. So I don't know if I'm the best person to ask about that.
April is the spokesperson for everyone here, apparently.
Now, I always hate when you're going through the stories and then you're meaning to go back, but yet that person that you're on now has like 50 different stories or pictures. So you're like clicking like 50 times just to get back to what you wanted to see originally. So, yeah. Okay. Good feedback. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have feedback either similar to April or completely different in a different direction?
I think I agree that the direct link on the story is good. But also like I think something we did for our recruitment events too, you could maybe do both. It maybe is like the best answer. You do a post for the event reminder and do a story, direct link. And then on the post, you could put like, there's a link in the bio. We had all of our members put the link to the Zoom in their bio as like a tiny URL. So maybe you could do a combination to reach the most people as possible.
Hi, my name is Cecilia from Untitled Chapter at Chapman University, and I found that we also did a combination of stories and posts. We would do posts kind of more further out, so either like the week before or a few days before, and then stories were for the day of or a few hours before. And one thing that I did with my chapter is we asked everyone to turn on notifications for Instagram, and then whenever we posted, they would be notified and would like have a lot of engagement and stuff like that.
Yeah, Cecilia, thank you for sharing that. You bring up a great point about timing and promoting your event, right? So because of the Instagram algorithm, if you're posting the day before or the day of about your chapter's event, the audience that you want attending that event might not necessarily see that in their feed, and so they might not know about it. So definitely promoting as soon as you can on social media in the feed about your event ahead of time and Insta story for any like last minute like day of reminders. Any final questions that we can answer? Final feedback, advice, questions, comments, concerns, ambiguities?
I have one more. Luis Cruz from Mu Sigma, San Diego State University again. So we just redid our website because we lost access to the other one, so we're rebuilding a new one. But I just wanted to know if any chapter had like a really good website that they're proud of, so we could like take inspiration from, just because I know we're building ours, so we want to like make it look good, just so like, you know, people who are interested can check out our website, just like learn more about us, or just anything in general like to keep in mind when it comes to having a website.
I'm gonna drop for you, Luis, the link to my home chapter's website because I like it and it's super nice. Thank you, Andrew, Corey. Love a website.
This is Cassie again from the Untitled Chapter. We are actually completely redoing our website, and our internet ops chair has done some amazing work with it. So we're going to pass along her information if you want to reach out to her and possibly get some tips, because it looks like from what we've seen, it looks amazing. It's like this close to being finished and published.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the remaining brothers to give headshots for the website.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'll make sure to reach out.
So we'll give it another minute just so everyone can kind of go through the chat, copy paste anything you need.
Can we get a round of applause for Diana and Heather? Y'all did amazing tonight.
Thanks, bros. We do it for y'all.
Thank you guys for taking the time tonight. I did put the contact info for Diana and Heather and myself if you guys need it. This was also recorded, so we're going to pull this recording and make sure that it's available for you guys to look back on, as well as show anybody that you think needs to see this information. We are going into election season, so if you have a new person who should be managing your social media, this might be a good place to start them out with a quick video that they can look at. So we're always happy to answer questions if it's online, offline. So yeah. Heather, Diana, do you have any closing remarks?
Love answering questions. Love AKSI questions and like props and, you know, yellow roses and kudos to all of you for being here, because that means you want to learn, you want to grow, and you want to better your chapter. So round of applause to all of you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Yeah, as Diana said, I mean, we love to answer questions, AKSI, marketing, anything we can help with. I mean, hopefully each one of you at least walked away with one thing tonight that you felt like you were able to take away from the presentation. But yeah, feel free if you want to stick around afterwards. We're always happy to answer questions too. We can stick around for a little bit. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm sure a survey will be sent out after this event to get your feedback if there's anything you wanted to privately share. But otherwise, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you are.